Okay, hi guys, welcome back to another video on my channel after approximately 2 weeks. So finally, we have finished with the cytopathology approach lectures and discussions, and finally, after so many people telling me that I should start this, we are going to be starting with histopathology now. And I'm really happy to start with histopathology because hematology and histopathology are two of my favorite branches of pathology. Cytopathology comes next. I mean, no offense meant to any cytopathologist, because I feel it is one of the most difficult branches of pathology. A reason being you don't have an architecture, you don't have molecular, you don't have specific markers, anything. And just by looking at that one cell, the brilliant cytopathologists, they give you the actual diagnosis. But personally, I love hematology and histopathology a lot. So let's begin. I'm really excited for you. For me, in fact, also that I'm starting with histopath now. And yeah, so, of course, in histopathology, I'm going to be changing a bit of my approach to the lectures. How I'll be changing it is that I'll be discussing it in a very clinico-pathological way, like a CPC is discussed in your institutes, a clinico-pathological meet. Okay, and I will be giving you what kind of clinical scenarios you can come across, and then I'll be dividing the lectures very short into benign and malignant. Again, I'll not be dealing with the details, I'll just be giving you the catch points. You have to go through your Ackerman or Sternberg with your, Washington Surgical Manual. You have to know all the latest WHO classifications for malignancies. So what I'll be doing is, of course, I'll in when I'm teaching malignant, discussing. I shouldn't be using the word teaching rather than discussing malignant. I will be giving you the WHO latest WHO classification. However, you have to read the book. What I am telling you, you'll understand only if you've read the chapter. Why? Because I'll just give you catch points. I won't be teaching you the entire chapter because you have better teachers on this platform to teach you that. I'm just discussing the catch points that I use to make a diagnosis so that you can easily make a diagnosis. I'll tell you what are the points that you need to remember for your exams. I'll tell you what questions you can be asked, things like that, rather than, teaching you the entire topic, because you have much better these days, all these online lecture platforms. Also, you have a lot of histopathology and hematology teachings. Labs like SRL and OnQuest, etc., are holding their parallel lectures where the one of the best and the senior most faculty teaches you the topic. So I don't think there's any use of me teaching you histopaths, rather than this is more for second years, third years, who want to make a diagnosis, and there are certain points which you have to see to make your diagnosis, basically. Okay. So, okay, a breast lump. I have discussed all the clinical scenarios over here, but I'll be taking the pathology in two parts, that is benign and malignant. Okay, so a female patient can come to you after you've done a cytopathology or an FNAC, or you might not have done that, to you with the following clinical presentations. Okay, I'll read it out. A female presents with a breast lump felt for 1 month. There was no pain or no discharge present, and the lump was freely mobile. Sometimes it is a incidental finding. Sometimes the patient is, trying on some piece of clothing or something and notices a lump, just like that, no problem at all. By the history itself, it is you can make out that it will definitely not be malignant. Okay. Second scenario can be a female presents with a large breast mass, overlying skin appears partially fixed. These scenarios you must be coming in, you might be encountering quite often in your clinical practice when you're doing an FNAC. Okay. A female presents with a fixed breast mass with surface ulceration and discharge. So you can see the progression of my questions is from nothing to something. Okay. A female presents with bloody nipple discharge. A lactating female presents with painful inflammatory breast lump. I've already used the word inflammatory because the 5 signs of inflammation will be there in that area now. all the people you have read general pathology, you know what are the five signs of inflammation: Gruber, colloderma, tumor. All right, so you should remember that. A 56-year-old female with nipple ulceration, a diffuse breast enlargement in a 13-year-old female, a 25-year-old male with breast mass. So not exactly are my questions in the real order of benign to malignant, but I was, trying to remember because I have not copy pasted it from anywhere. I was just trying to remember what kind of clinical scenarios have I come across till now, till my senior residency, and these are the few which stand out in my mind. So the approach over here should be that when you get any of these histories, the first thing that you need to do is take the clinical history. Even if you're the pathologist, you need to know the clinical history of how long the mass was there. Was it mobile and it became fixed and ulcerated, or it is just simply mobile? Was it incidental, or the patient knew about it and it slowly it progressed into a large mass? Any discharge, as I've mentioned, should be noted. Any puckering of the skin, overlying skin should be noted. The axilla should be examined. The tail of the breast should be examined. So just to see that is there a lymph node or a mass, multiple masses, maybe in the axillary tail also. Then you come to the imaging studies. I'll tell you what is important in that further on. And finally, it is FNAC these days, or I'm discussing a few points of the malignancy over here. Again, I said we are discussing the important points. I'm not teaching you the topic. So these days, neoadjuvant chemotherapy in breast carcinoma has become a mainstay. That is, first they give the chemo, they reduce the size of the mass, and then they remove the mass. So the and second thing that I think the surgeons, apart from MRM, if it is an old age large mass, the surgeons are performing nipple sparing surgeries, skin sparing surgeries, where they just remove the mass, depending on the extent of involvement, the involvement of the central node, etc., and leave the overlying nipple untouched for cosmetic purposes. Okay. Mostly in younger age, you don't get that. However, I have seen breast carcinoma as young as 25 years. So, slowly this thing is becoming a myth that you don't see. Similarly, I have seen CML in as young as 10 years. So, slowly these age barriers will, I think, dilute in 10 years to come. And what we have learned, we need to update ourselves in that. Second thing that in breast you need to know is that molecular markers, IHC, is playing a very, very big role in breast carcinomas because treatment is being designed as per the IHC marker or the molecular marker positive. And you must be knowing about Herceptin, HER2 new receptor targeting agent, and patients are responding very well to that. Prognostication of the breast carcinoma is being done depending on what marker is positive, negative, triple negative. There's this entire chart which is given in Sternberg, Ackerman, as well as Robbins, where it gives you the entire progression of malignancy from a benign to a in situ to a malignant to an metastasis and invasive carcinoma. Also, hormonal therapy, presence of genetic factors is playing a very, very big role. There are certain mutations which are important, which will give you multi-system tumors like in your gut, also in your ovaries, in the endometrium, in your breast. You must be knowing about Angelina Jolie. She had a familial mutation present, BRCA gene mutation, and she got her ovaries and bilateral breast removed, bilateral oophorectomies and mastectomies, because her mother had a history of ovarian carcinoma and she was susceptible to developing breast and ovarian carcinomas. So breast has, evolved way earlier than hematology did as far as molecular markers and the workup is concerned. So you really need to catch tumors. You need to know what is a benign breast is like thyroid. Even on FNAC, you might get confused between anisocytosis. So ये एटीपिया है, कार्सिनोमा है कि सिर्फ कुछ नहीं है कि क्या है. So even in breast, you'll get confused between UDH and ADH, and there are very fine differences between the two. So slowly I'm going to tell you about all that. That is why I'm breaking up the lecture. Why I have spoken so much about the clinical aspect is to impress upon you the importance of making the right diagnosis in breast carcinomas. Okay, so moving clinical history, you are going to do examination of the appropriate, that you ask the patient, to put the hands behind her head, Okay, and then the patient is lying supine, and then you start examining the area where she says that pain ho raha hai ya there's a lump. Go opposite that and then come to that area in the end, because if there is mastitis, this is a painful lump, and if you press that in the starting, then the patient will not allow you to go ahead with the examination. So if I have to draw this, why I'm going to the clinical of breast is because it is important for a pathologist. Supposing the this is the outer quadrant, this is the inner part, okay, and this is the lump over here, then I'll move like this to examine it. Okay, or I'll move like this to examine it. Upper right, upper left, lower right, lower left. So going, this part should come in the end. If you start from, let me just change the color. If you start from here, then you can't move ahead and rest of the quadrants are left. And then you have to examine under the nipple also. Then you have to examine the axillary tail for any lump, and then the axilla may if there are any lymph nodes or not. And this goes for the bilateral breast. Okay. Mammography, ultrasound, very very important. Then you get something known as the Birat scoring. I'll be talking about that in the malignancy. Then you do an FNAC. You can do a core needle biopsy also. There are multiple papers on the significance of a core needle biopsy over an FNAC. Which one is better, which is not. Mostly have seen that FNACs are good, because then in needle biopsy it's a histopath procedure. You will have to wait for a week to get the results. FNACs are good. In our institute, we've also done immunocytochemistry, and they've given us good results. As far as invasion and all that is concerned, yes, of course, on an FNA, it's very, very difficult to tell whether there's an invasion. You can't tell whether there's an invasion or not. But so in the end, you have to go for a biopsy or a histopath. But at least diagnostic, I think FNAC is good enough. And these days, what they do is, but there's one thing. These days, what they do is they provide neoadjuvant chemotherapy, then they send you the FNAC. You'll get a lot of necrosis. You might not get any material. There might be fibrosis. There might be therapy-induced changes in that tumor, which you will miss or you will misinterpret. So there, the biopsy becomes important, or the MRM or whatever the surgery is performed becomes important. Okay. So I'll be just showing you images of a benign proliferative breast disease and infections and inflammations. What comes under benign proliferation? I'll take the common ones as fibroadenoma, fibrocystic breast, Pylotes tumor. Okay. UDH also comes under this category, and that you have to, that is usual ductal hyperplasia, that you have to differentiate from atypical ductal hyperplasia. Other you, then there'll be adenomas, then there'll be sclerosing adenosis, and there'll be inflammatory changes which appear as lumps. There can be a TB, a filaria, a fat necrosis, mastitis, etc. Plain adenosis, diffuse proliferation of the breast, and there might be apocrine changes, hormonal changes through which will show as apocrine metaplasia in the breast. So it's quite a big palette and spectrum of morphological features that you're going to get. So let's start. Today I'll show you just a few images just to sensitize you with the histopathology, and then we can go ahead with that. Let's start with a fibroadenoma. The basic thing that you will come to you, and every time it will come to you, and you can't escape it, even in FNAC or histopath. Basically, they are nothing. They are just glandular structured glands proliferating. Either the lumen is open or the lumen has collapsed. Okay, the lumen of the gland collapses because the surrounding stroma has proliferated more than the gland, or the lumen can stay open of the glands because the stroma is proliferating in an equal rate with the glands. Okay, so what happens is a lot of glands not arranged in lobules, breaking the lobular architecture, because gland वैसे भी होगा इसमें ducts and glands होते हैं. So if you get a normal breast biopsy, then that doesn't mean it's an adenoma. But there are a lot of glands spread all over the architecture. It's a well encapsulated structure. Grossly, I have not put gross images. I'll show you in the next turn. It is white, firm, shiny outer surface. When you cut it, it is gray white, firm inside. You can see some sort of a whirling like this if you are lucky, just like that what you see in the uterine myomas. You can see the whirlings also. Sometimes some few hemorrhagic spots, but overall a nice ball, golf ball like benign tumor. So what you have to see is, okay, here see, this is the glands here, this one is patent, and then rest are compressed, and that is why you can see so many cells, and the stroma has proliferated a lot. Here the glands are open, there's a lot of loose connective tissue rimming around these glands but not collapsing it. Again you see, and this looks like the veins of a leaf. If this is too much, it looks like a vein of a leaf. Okay. And then over here you see a fibroadenoma with, see, these, some secretory material is filled, there's some secretory changes over here, right? And then you see some sort of an atypical ductal proliferation. Okay, now what is it? I am going to talk about it later on. Okay, so what I want to just tell you today is, when you see a biopsy which is well encapsulated and you see more glands than stroma, and some are collapsed, some are not, then that is a fibroadenoma. Phyllodes tumor is an extension of this tumor itself, where the glands are not proliferating that much, but the stroma is, and it is causing some sort of a leaf-like pattern. जैसे leaf की veins होती है ना, something like this. See over here, like the veins of the leaf. And then this, if this is too much in a biopsy, then it gives rise to a phyllodes tumor. If it is little bit here and there, it's an intraductal fibroadenoma. Grossly also you can tell the difference, because when you cut a phyllodes, it will be very, very stiff to cut. But when you cut a fibroadenoma, it cuts smoothly. That is the difference. Then, as I had told you, there can be metaplasias, there can be atypical hyperplasias, and then there can be carcinomas and simple adenomas. So here you can see is what is an apocrine metaplasia kind of a thing with apical snouting. Okay, and this is a tubular adenoma. See, a lot of this is different from a fibroadenoma, because here stroma has not proliferated that much, only glands are proliferating. Okay, their glands will also proliferate and stroma will also proliferate. Okay, and over here what you see is sclerosing adenosis, where a star shaped proliferation due to too much fibrocollagenous tissue, and glands will be proliferating like a starburst kind of a thing will be seen. And this is confused with a carcinoma. Why? Because the glands are closely packed, which is a feature of a carcinoma. Now, and this becomes a ductal hyperplasia, where you have to see whether this proliferation is streaming or it is straight, whether these holes which are formed, they are slit like or they are ekdam round around. If they are slit like, then this is more like a UDH. If they become round ekdam ऐसे cribriform से छन्नी होती है, then it becomes more of a ADH. I'll take those things later on. Fine, I'm just sensitizing you today. Then you have to see presence of Roman arches, whether the proliferation is in a streaming pattern, forming an arch-like structure, joining one end to the other or not. Finally, you see a carcinoma cyst so ugly with necrosis. So this is a DCIS. Now you'll ask me, this is so much and you can't, I am 110% sure you're not able to differentiate between them. Okay. So this thing is an ADH, where you see these Roman arches and these solid stiff things over here. Now, what I want to tell you is that if you get a slide, be it a tubular adenoma, be it this kind of a thing, or just look at this place. This place. Okay, look over here. Do you see these elongated cells? Do you see these? Okay, these are your myoepithelial cells, P63 positive. And these are the cells which, if present, it shows that the tumor is limited in that area. Means it is a ADH, UDH or something benign, not a cancer. Even in carcinoma in situs, you might see that. Fine. But if there is a carcinoma in situ developing, you are going to see a lot of atypia, otherwise maybe some necrosis. And very soon that in situ will become a frank carcinoma. But a ADH ho ya UDH, you are going to see these soft-like cells over here. See, over here it is also there. This one. This one. This is in fact, this is an atypical ductal hyperplasia. Still, it is there. Why it is there? Because it is benign. Even in these tubules, the outer layer, if I put an ISC, will have these kind of cells. Okay. Of course, the morphology will be very bland and benign. That is something else. Over here, this is apocrine metaplasia. A lot of, again, this won't confuse you. What will confuse you are these three things. And even in sclerosing adenosis, there will be a lot of collagen surrounding the star-shaped proliferation, and some myoepithelial cells will be seen here also. So when you do an IHC, it will be clear. This thing can only confuse when there has been a radiotherapy on that lesion and some fibrosis has been there, and then you get a recurrence. However, here you don't see too much of that kind of, see, this is all bland. See, this is blooding over here. Even here you don't see it. This is all bland. These are lymphocytes. And there's a prognostic importance of TILs. What are TILs? You read up, and if you don't know, ask me in the message, I'll tell you. TIL. Okay? All these are TILs. So this is just to sensitize you. I use bigger images. I just wanted to tell you in the for further malignancies which I take, I just wanted to tell you that if you want to look at a slide and decide कि ये malignancy है benign, तो myoepithelial cells ढूंढो. Lot of tubules getting proliferated with a nice rimming around them is adenoma. Tubular हो चाहे fibro हो. Stroma ज़्यादा expand कर रहा है, it is phyllodes. So benign is not that confusing, but malignancy. So this is a normal duct, okay, like a branching, etc. pattern. This is a normal acini, fine, with a surrounding rim of O, and see these cells over here. Atypical ductal hyperplasia will have, see, these very fixed holes, as if तुमने cookie cutter लेके punch कर दिया हो, या punching machine से किया हो, and then these Roman arches, ठीक है, where the cells are going from one end to other in an arch form, and some necrosis or material. But since it is just hyperplasia, you are going to get myoepithelial cells outside. Okay, and this is lobular atypical hyperplasia, ALH, lobular hyperplasia. This is in a duct, this is in an entire lobule, where you see very bland monomorphic cells just completely filling up the lobule with these myopithelial cells intact. And see, these are Roman bridges. Okay, Roman arches. Over here is also, see, this is a Roman arch. This is seen in ADH. So what are the features of ATPR? Loss of stroma between acini. As I said, that is why sclerosing adenosis becomes a DD. Cellular pleomorphism, hyperchromosia, cribriforming, this is called cribriforming, increased abnormal mitosis, Roman bridges and necrosis. Streaming, that is, instead of these stiff bridges, you get like a stream of fish going from here to there, a stream of fish going from here to there, not stiff arches like this. एक होता है streaming और एक होता है stiff arches. This is UDH, this is ADH. Okay. Lastly, I would want to show you this. This is mastitis, a lot of inflammation and necrosis in the breast. The tissue is completely gone. This can be post lactation, this can be due to some infection, whatever could be the cause. And this is traumatic fat necrosis, where due to some trauma to the fat becomes necrotic. On FNAC, if you get necrosis and some fat particles but no epithelial component, then that thing becomes a traumatic fat necrosis. This is here you are going to see a histopath. You see a lot of traumatic fat, some regenerating, some dying fat. You're going to see giant cells. You're going to see a granuloma because of the damage to the fat. So this is basically benign, common few findings that I wanted to show you. I'm gonna take up more of benign and malignant in the next lecture, and breast might take 3 to 4 lectures to finish because I'm going to take up IHC, then molecular, then recent advances. Do tell me, how did you like this new pattern of IHC, sorry, of histopathology lectures, and what more can I improve? I know the images are small because today I just wanted to sensitize you. I'm going to use bigger images, one image per plate in the future. And I would wait for your feedbacks to improvise the histopathology more. Till then, please stay safe and a happy Diwali in advance.